I only used them whenever I needed money. So hey rich friends, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about the 5 biggest money mistakes that I have made in the last 10 years. I thoroughly regret all these mistakes. If I had an opportunity to go back in time and do better, I would take that opportunity in a heartbeat. And the purpose of this video is just share my mistakes with you in case you are in a similar position that I was. I'm hoping that you watch this video and you make a better choice than I did. The first money mistake that I made was not starting my investment journey earlier. I did not start investing in anything until 2019 or 2020. Around this time, I was beginning to think about starting my MBA. And I was living in Nigeria at the time. The exchange rate between the naira and the dollar was getting larger and larger every single day. It became apparent to me that I needed to invest my money. Before then, all I did was save my money. I just kept money and I saved money for a project that I had in mind. To me, I did not have a large margin of money to invest. The amount of money I was making from my job and my side hustles, I was investing in myself, paying for professional exams, taking courses, learning different skills. The remainder of my money, I simply just put in a savings account. So I was just saving my money, accumulating my money in accounts, and I was using the money for different projects that came my way. And it never occurred to me to buy stock or invest in bonds. I saw that as something that, rich people did. I saw that as something that people that had a lot more money than me did. I did not think that I had enough money to invest. And I did not start investing until about 2020 when I made my first treasury bills investment. I started investing in treasury bills. I started investing in money market securities. And I was only investing in them because I needed a place to put my savings where I couldn't touch them. If you're in this position, maybe you're in your first job, you think you are not earning a lot of money, I want to advise you to start investing now. What makes investing so powerful is the power of compound interest. And compound interest will work for you no matter what you are investing. So if you are investing just $50 or $500 or $5,000, compound interest will still work for you. Yes, the amount of return that you will get will be different depending on how much money you put in. But the value of starting to invest early is it builds the discipline in you. Secondly, learn by doing. A lot of people who think, like me, who thought that, I'll start investing when I'm making a lot of money. The mistake is that at that time, when I'm making a lot of money, you also have the potential of losing a lot of money. So starting my investing journey by investing $5,000 means that I have the potential of losing $5,000. Whereas if I started my investment journey when I could only put $50 or $100 in, even if I had lost my $100, it's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, but I would have gained valuable experience that will be useful for me when I now have a larger sum of money to invest. So investing early is not only about the interest that you get, it's also about the experience that you build and the discipline, the habit of investing. At the end of the day, building wealth, becoming rich, wealth creation is a series of good habits consistently executed. And you can start building habits at any point in time. If I could go back in time, from the very first paycheck that I received from my very first job in 2013, I would have invested something, even if it was 1% of my income every month. The second money mistake that I made was not investing in real estate earlier. I had opportunities to buy a piece of land and maybe even start building them. But at that point, I thought that, I'm young, I was in my early 20s, I'm single, I don't have a family. At that time, getting married and having kids, it was a goal in the future, at that time, the far future, but it was not an immediate goal. So I did not prioritize it. And I saw buying a piece of land or building a house as something that greater adults did, like real adults. I saw myself, in my early 20s as just a child adult. As a baby adult, something like that. So I never invested in it. And I know people, I have friends who, from their first paycheck, they bought pieces of land in, at that time, bad areas of town where nobody was living. And now, a decade after, people are beginning to move into those areas of land. If you're in Nigeria, you get what I'm saying. I had friends who are buying property in Ikorodu. And at that time, Ikorodu was part of Lagos that nobody wanted to live. It was a swampy area. But now, the place is getting developed. People are buying property there. And if I had bought, a piece of land there for maybe like 50,000 naira, at this time my return would have been more than 10 times. So I really wish that I had invested in real estate sooner, earlier, and not excuse myself because I'm young or I'm single. So my advice to you is, if you are single, maybe you don't even have plans to get married anytime soon, but you have the opportunity to invest in real estate, especially in the United States of America, where you can get a mortgage. If you are an high earner and you are renting and you think, oh, I'm not going to buy a house because I don't want to move to the suburbs, or I don't want to live there by myself, I do not have kids, my advice to you is, if you have the opportunity, buy it and figure out a way. Like, you don't even have to move in there, you can rent it out and just hold it. Like, if you have enough money, you can buy a small house or something and you can just hold it. Like, the value may increase in the future. Who knows what 10 years could do to a small piece of land or a small house that looks like nothing today. So if I had the opportunity, I would buy my first piece of land 10 years ago. The second mistake that I made was buying a used car. I bought a used car around, I think it was 2014, 2015, back home in Nigeria. I loved the car. I still love the car. Beautiful car. And it was required for me at the time. And to be honest, that was all I could afford transparently at the time. But looking back at it, I spent a lot of money on repairs. I had the car for a while, and the first few years that I had the car, everything was perfect. However, by the time the car began to have issues, when I bought the car already had hundreds of thousands of mileage on it. So by the time the car began to have a lot of issues, I had to spend a lot of money. I replaced a lot of things in the car. I replaced the air conditioning system. I replaced the part of the engine at some point. And I spent so much money towards the end of the life of the car that the car became a burden to me. If I could go back again, what I would do is, first of all, if I was even buying a used car, I would buy a used car with lower mileage. But if I had the opportunity, I would actually buy a brand new car, because I'm the first person to use it and I can use it for a lot more years. I prefer to buy a good brand new car and hold it for 10-15 years and maximize the value of the car, versus buying a used car in a poor state or a used car that has a very high mileage on it, and then a few years down the line you run into a lot of repairs. The fourth money mistake that I made, and I made this mistake when I first moved to the United States of America, was that I used to buy low quality items. Just in general, at that point, I just moved to the United States. I did not have an income. The only income that I had was what I was getting from my student loans, and I tried to minimize my spending as much as I can because I knew that I was living on borrowed money. Everything was very cheap, very cheap items that only lasted 1 or 2 years. And again, that was what I could afford at the time. But what this resulted in was, a few years down the line, I had to always replace things. So I had to always buy the same, I bought a sweatshirt in January, and by June I had to buy another one, because the one I bought in January has lost its shape or has become faded, or I had to replace a lot of things. I literally had to replace almost everything. All the clothes that I bought, all the housewares that I bought, I eventually had to replace them just a few years down the line. If I could do it again, I would buy higher quality items that will last me a longer period of time. And I think that's one mistake a lot of people make when they're being frugal, is they go for cheap, low quality items. You can find cheap, high quality items actually, by shopping in some stores like maybe Ross, for example, where you have high quality items at a discounted price. That is definitely, fair game. But just buying cheap things that are low quality, you're saving money now, but the repercussions of the money you're saving is going to come back to haunt you in the future, when you either have to replace the item or you have to use your money to solve a problem that the low quality item has caused you. Like, imagine buying a low quality, chair, like a low quality office chair that you sit down every day. And yes, it was cheap. You got it off Amazon for $50, for example. But then 5 years down the line, dealing with a bad spine, or you're dealing with, some posture problem, nerve issues that you now need to spend thousands of dollars in physiotherapy to resolve. If I had the opportunity, I would do better. And the last money mistake that I made, and this is probably the most important money mistake that I made actually, was not taking my side hustles seriously. In my early 20s, I had a website development company, and I also had a startup consulting advisory company where I would help people develop right business plans, build financial models, things like that. These two businesses, I did very well in them. I had clients who trusted me and liked me. In fact, I ran these businesses for a very long time and I never did marketing. I never took out paid ads. I never did any marketing, technically. I got all my clients through word of mouth and through referrals. That's a sign of how good I was. Now, what I wish that I had done was, I wish that I had taken these side hustles from just side hustles into actual businesses. So I treated them just as side hustles. I only used them whenever I needed money. So whenever I needed to make a major expense, I would double down on my side hustles, work really hard, work my networks, and I would get a lot of clients, and I would make the amount of money that I wanted to make. And immediately I made the money that I wanted to make, that was it, right? I'll focus back on my job. I'll spend my time resting, catching up on Grey's Anatomy and Suits and Scandal and all these other TV shows. And I would just, I was not making a lot of efforts on that front. And what happened was, obviously, other people came up in the market. I had competition. They were growing. And for them, they didn't have a regular job that was giving them enough money. They were hungry, they were desperate. So they did Google ads. They put all their energy in. And I began to have very strong competition. But even still, I still had clients who would refer me. And by the nature of the businesses that I had a lot of repeat clients, right? So I had clients who would still come back to me. They would refer their friends to me and things like that. But I did not take it seriously enough. And because of that, I left a lot of money on the table. I don't know how big the businesses would have been if I had treated them as a business. And to be fair to me, the reason why I didn't treat them as a business was I had a regular job, I had a career, I have a career that I care about and I want to build. So I did not see myself, as a web developer. I saw myself as an investment banker, an auditor, someone who works in finance, but as someone who builds website on the side. But what I could have done better, if I had the opportunity to go back in time, was I would have institutionalized my businesses. I would have hired people. That way I could get as many customers as I can and still continue doing my day job. I would have invested in marketing. I would have built a solid sales pipeline, not relied only on word of mouth or referrals. I would have had organic and inorganic marketing sources. And then on the back end, I would have built a system. I'll have an assistant. I'll have people who are actually doing the work. And I'll just serve as a business owner, getting profits from the business instead of being in the business. I would have created a business system that can work and survive without me being involved in it. But I took on the mindset of a job. That's how I took it on. I exchanged my time for money. And because my time was limited, my income was limited. So if I had the opportunity to do it again, I would have created businesses instead of just creating side hustles that were tied to my time. If you're in that shoes where you have a regular job and you have side hustles, but these side hustles, you're lucky enough, to have good clients that love you, you are doing very well, your work is very good, attracting a lot of revenue. My advice to you would be to not discount your side hustles and figure out a way to make your side hustles into actual businesses that can yield profits, that can yield revenue for you, even when you are not actively working on them. And a good book that will help you to do this is titled The E-Myth Revisited. I read that book, but I read it too late. But I really wish that I had done that. So these were my 5 biggest money mistakes that I made in the last 10 years. I've made so many other mistakes. Let me know what you think about this video and which of these mistakes are you going to learn from and avoid. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Until then, stay rich and build well. Bye.